Hey everybody, here we are in Harlem, New York at the Apollo Theater. We're going in, we're getting a personal tour, taking you on stage, behind the scenes, and it's gonna be great. I can't wait to see what goes on. Let's do it. And there he is.
Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
Welcome to the World Famous
Hello,
Apollo Theater.
hello.
I'm Billy Mitchell, the tour director.
You're the man.
Oh, thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Apollo, what I heard.
That's what they call me, Mr. Apollo.
Well, let's
Come
do
on,
it.
let me show you around.
Right on.
All right. There's so much history in this place, you know. And then the photos up on the wall, these are images of people some who started their careers here at the Apollo Theater and went on to become legends. You know, for instance, there's Duke Ellington right there, you know. Ella Fitzgerald here, she was the first female to win the Amateur Night show when it was created in 1934 by Ralph Cooper. She was 16 years old. And then you have Patti LaBelle and Red Fox from Sanford and Son, you know.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr., Duke Ellington, and Dizzy Gillespie. So many of these wonderful people got their careers enhanced while they appeared at the Apollo Theater.
I hear a little Jackson 5 in the background.
Oh, in the background we have Jackson 5 because the Jackson 5 actually started their careers at the Apollo Theater on Amateur Night. And I happened to have been in the house the night that Michael Jackson was 9 years old and first did the Amateur Night. And on this wall, you have Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke.
And look at
Stevie Wonder, when he was little Stevie Wonder.
That's exactly right. He was 15 years old in this particular picture. The great Nat King Cole, and one of my favorites, Smokey Robinson. Ooh, baby, baby. I love that stuff, man. I love it. And then on this wall, oh my goodness, Frankie Lymon. Why do fools fall in love? Why do birds sing? Oh man, Frankie Lymon started on Amateur Night in 1953. Sam and Dave, I'm a soul man. Dun, 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 dun. All these wonderful performers, Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Oh yeah, she's still around.
My dear friend Gladys is still around, still coming to the Apollo Theater performing for us.
Every time I see her, I just love watching.
Yes, indeed. Oh, yeah. Now, on the way up to the office, before we go up to my office, I want to show you, this is Dionne Warwick.
Dionne Warwick, looking young and beautiful.
Walk on by.
Oh, yeah.
She started on Amateur Night at the Apollo in the 50s. Can you imagine that?
It's crazy.
These are the Blind Boys from Alabama, gospel group. Grammy Award gospel group, all right? The great diva, Miss Diane Carroll. Tommy Hunt, back in the 60s, this guy used to slay the ladies here. Billy Eckstine, the ladies loved him. He had these gorgeous
gorgeous green eyes right there.
His eyes would be green one moment, blue another, and hazel the next. Gospel group and R&B group, the
Staple Singers.
Herbie Mann, the great musician Herbie Mann. And this guy, Clyde McFadden, my goodness, what a voice. Only you can take the change in me. Oh!
And you love the music, don't you?
Oh, I love music. Come on, let's go to my office.
Right on.
The audience are the judges of every performance on Amateur Night. Our audience is brutally honest.
I've heard that.
Our audience is very diverse, but the Apollo Theater audience, they all want the same thing, and that's to see a great performance. If you don't give it to them, they're gonna give it to you. They have a motto at Amateur Night, be good or be gone.
Oh yeah.
And this audience, they are the judges. If they like you, they applaud you. If they don't, they will boo you. Boo, get off the stage. It's all in fun.
Wow.
All right? But it's been going on since the original show.
And it's going on strong.
Every single Wednesday night at 7:30.
Now, how did you get started with the Apollo?
Well, I first started at the Apollo in 1965 when I was 15 years old. I was born and raised in Mount Vernon, New York. We moved from Mount Vernon. My mother had 14 children. So we moved from Mount Vernon to the Bronx. And we were going through struggles financially, subhuman almost living conditions.
The 60s were tough.
It was
60s
tough.
were tough.
It was really tough. So we moved to the South Bronx, and I remember there was one day we had no food in the house. And it was that tough. So my mom asked me to come down to Harlem to borrow some money from one of my relatives. My relative happened to live across the street from the backstage door of the Apollo. When I went to borrow the money, she wasn't home. So to waste time, I walked up and down the sidewalk for almost 3 hours until I got so tired that I leaned up against the wall of the Apollo. That's when the owner at the time, Frank Schiffman, old man Schiffman.
There you go.
He comes out and says, "Hey, kid, what are you doing back here?" I says, "I'm not doing anything, mister." Then he offers me, he says, "Hey, you want to make some money?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I started backing up because I didn't know what he was talking about.
Right.
He says, "I'm asking you, do you want to make some money by going to the store for people who are rehearsing inside?" And that was my introduction to the Apollo, and I started running errands then the next day, after school, on the weekends, during the summer.
So how did it progress? I mean, you started out running errands, and then what happened after that?
I started running errands. I did that for a couple of years, and then I met James Brown, who told me the importance of getting a good education, and for some reason that stuck with me because I was living in bad situations and I wanted to uplift myself, and I wanted people to stop laughing at me and my family and calling us names and just being rude to us because we didn't have what they had. And he says, there's a way you can get up out of that. You get yourself a good education. When you become an adult, it'll put you in a position to get yourself a good job. So I came back to Apollo Theater for a while, then I stopped running errands. I got a big shot. I found me a new job working in the supermarket, right? Lifting boxes. I was on my way.
Yeah.
Finally, the theater closed in '77. And I thought the world had come to an end. I had stopped coming to see concerts here. People stopped coming to the theater. We thought it was the end. Thank God this man that I had admired and campaigned for when he ran for Manhattan Borough President, his name was Mr. Percy Sutton.
Right there, on your
Mr.
wall.
Sutton. He and some investors bought this building in 1981 out of bankruptcy. He and legendary radio pioneer, Mr. Hal Jackson, okay? These gentlemen, along with some investors, bought the building, which we now call the Apollo Theater, reportedly for $250,000. They invested about $10 million or more to fix it up.
Renovations and all.
Renovated the theater. And then when the theater was planned to open in 1984, I came to Mr. Sutton for a part-time job.
There's a lot of history here.
Oh, there's a lot of history in this theater, absolutely. Most people don't know the true history of the theater, and that dates back to the very beginning. This building was built in 1914, and when it was first built, it wasn't called the Apollo Theater. The building had another name and another purpose. The building was actually called Hertig and Siemens New Burlesque Theater.
Wow.
This building was then what they considered an all-white burlesque house. And African Americans weren't allowed in here, and that was because Harlem was different at that time.
Right.
However, then in the early 1930s, burlesque was banned in New York by the then mayor, Fiorello LaGuardia. In 1934,
They named the airport after him, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When it was banned in New York, the theater closed as a burlesque house. And then in 1934, new owners bought the building, and they were the ones that renamed the building the Apollo Theater, based on the Greek god Apollo that represents the sun, music, entertainment, poetry, and good prophecy. And that's what these new owners wanted to bring here. But it just so happened when they bought this place in 1934, it was at the tail end of a wonderful era here in Harlem. That era was called the Harlem Renaissance. And that was a time when black culture, entertainment, style of dress, theater, comedy, it was very popular. Now, our white brothers and sisters wanted to see black people perform because they had heard about all these fantastic black performers like Fats Waller, Cab Calloway, but they weren't allowed to see them perform because the theater owners didn't let blacks in their theaters. Well, the guys who bought the Apollo and renamed it that, they said since no other theaters in Harlem allow, quote, colored people in their building, we're going to be the first. And this was the first theater to have presented on its stage what they call colored reviews, shows featuring black people.
Wow, times have changed, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
For the better.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that.
Definitely. Now, there's something that's very interesting that I wanted to find about.
Yeah.
Now, there's this tree
Yeah.
on the stage. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, there's a tree that every amateur who performs on amateur night, when their names are called for them to perform, before they actually perform, they rub this tree supposedly for good luck.
Yeah.
It's called the Tree of Hope. Now, that tree was once a tall tree that stood in front of one of the most famous theaters in Harlem. It was called the Lafayette Theater, and it was located on 131st Street and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. Now, back in the 30s, one day out of nowhere, Patrick, all of these unemployed entertainers came and they gathered around that tree and they started performing under it, you know, singing, dancing, telling jokes, playing instruments. They did that hoping that somebody would see them, like what they did, and then hire them. Well, before you could snap your finger, booking agents looking for talent, they heard about these people performing at the tree, and they came up to the tree and they hired every single performer. So being hired and superstitious, the performers thought the reason they were hired is because the tree was giving off good luck. And then when they decided to tear it down, everybody wanted a piece of it to keep as a good luck charm. Some took pieces of the bark, put it in their pocket, hoping it would bring them luck. Others took a twig, stuck it in their caps, hoping it would bring them luck. And finally, others climbed up onto the limbs. They started pulling the green leaves off the limbs. They thought that the green leaves, because they were green, it would hopefully bring them money. But Ralph Cooper, the guy who created Amateur Night, he was the one who decided to chop that stump of the tree off and bring it to the Apollo. Wow. So the Amateur Night contestants, rather than taking a piece off for good luck before they perform, they can now rub it for good luck, hoping they don't get booed off the stage.
Yeah. Amazing. We're going to get to see a little bit of that tonight.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to.
Around, Patrick.
All right, well, let's take off,
Sure.
Go downstairs, show me the sights.
Sounds like a
Let's
plan.
do it.
Thank you, Apollo.